The message came on a Tuesday morning. Admiral Park Do-yun was drinking his coffee when his screen lit up with emergency codes. Something had entered the solar system. Something big. He rushed to the command center of the United Earth Fleet. Officers ran past him. Screens showed a ship unlike anything humans had ever built. It was massive, nearly the size of a small moon. It hung in space near Jupiter, waiting. "What is it?" Park asked. "Unknown, sir," said Lee Tayson, his chief engineer. "But it is broadcasting, in every human language." The message was simple. The Galaxy Council requested humanity's presence. Not a request, really. A demand. Park had heard rumors about the Galaxy Council. Traders from the few alien species humans had met spoke of them in whispers. An ancient coalition of 12 powerful species. They had ruled this part of the galaxy for 50,000 years. They decided who lived and who died among the stars. And now they had noticed humanity. Kim Yuna arrived within the hour. She was the lead diplomat for human relations with other species, a small woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. She read the message 3 times before speaking. "They want us to send representatives," she said. "They are offering safe passage." "It could be a trap," Park said. "It could be," Yuna agreed. "But if we refuse, what message does that send? That we are afraid? That we are weak?" Park looked at the massive ship on his screen. Humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. They had one small colony on a distant world. Their fleet had 40 ships. Against something like the Council, they were nothing. But hiding would not save them. "We go," Park said. The journey to the Council's flagship took 3 days. Park, Yuna, and a small team boarded a shuttle and flew into the belly of the alien vessel. Inside, they found corridors made of crystal and light. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Their guide was a being made of living stone. It walked on 4 legs and spoke through vibrations in the air. It did not give its name. It simply led them forward. The council chamber was enormous. 12 platforms floated in a circle around a central stage. On each platform sat a representative of a different species. Some were insect-like, with many eyes and clicking mouths. Others were like clouds of gas, shifting and changing color. One was a creature of pure energy, burning like a star. Park and Yuna stood on the central stage, small and alone. "Humans," said the stone being. It was the speaker for the council. "You have spread beyond your birth world. You have touched the stars. This brings you under our authority." Yuna stepped forward. "We greet the Galaxy Council. We come in peace and hope for friendship between our peoples." The council did not respond to her greeting. The speaker continued as if she had not spoken. "All species under council authority must pay tribute. This is the law. This is how order is maintained. You will provide 40% of your mineral production. You will send 10,000 of your people each year for labor service. You will surrender all military vessels." Park felt his hands tighten into fists. He forced himself to stay calm. "And in return?" Yuna asked. "In return, you are allowed to exist." Silence filled the chamber. Park looked at the other platforms. He saw other species there too, smaller ones, standing in the shadows behind the great council members. They kept their heads down. They did not speak or move. Their eyes were empty, tribute species, slaves in everything but name. "You have 30 cycles to comply," the speaker said. "This is generous. Most species are given 10. Yuna's voice remained steady. "May we ask what happens if a species does not wish to pay tribute?" Something changed in the chamber. The floating beings stopped moving. The energy creature flickered. Even the stone speaker seemed to pause. "No species has refused in 12,000 years, the speaker said. "But if one did," Yuna pressed, "then that species would be corrected." Park understood the meaning. Corrected meant destroyed, wiped from existence. He thought of Earth. of its cities and forests and oceans. He thought of the colony on New Sol, where children played under alien stars. All of it could be erased by these beings who had never faced resistance. He looked at the tribute species again. How many worlds had knelt? How many peoples had given up their freedom for survival? And what kind of survival was it, really? To live as servants forever, with no hope and no future. Park stepped forward, standing beside Yuna. "We will discuss your terms," he said, "but I have one question first." The speaker waited. "Your weapons, your ships, your armies," Park said. "When was the last time you actually used them?" Again, that strange silence fell. "We have not needed to use force in 12,000 years," the speaker said. "Our power is absolute. All species recognize this." Park nodded slowly. "I see." The delegation returned to Earth with the Council's demands. The governments of the world gathered to hear the report. Presidents and generals and scientists filled the Great Hall of the United Nations. They watched recordings of the Council chamber. They saw the massive ships. They heard the threats. Fear spread through the room. Some leaders spoke of accepting the terms. 40% was harsh, but survival mattered more. 10,000 people a year was terrible, but perhaps volunteers could be found. Perhaps this was the only way. Then Kim Yuna stood to speak. "They have not fought a war in 12,000 years, she said. "They rule through fear alone. Their weapons are old. Their soldiers have never faced battle. They expect us to kneel because everyone else has knelt." She looked around the room. "But we are human. We do not kneel." The vote was unanimous. Earth would not pay tribute. And somewhere in the depths of space, the Galaxy Council received a message they had never received before. The word was simple. The word was no. The Council did not believe it at first. The stone speaker read humanity's response 3 times. Then it called an emergency gathering of all 12 ruling species. "They have refused," the speaker announced. Confusion spread through the chamber. Several council members did not understand the word. Refused? What did that mean? Species did not refuse. Species obeyed. This was how the galaxy worked. This was how it had always worked. "Perhaps they did not understand the message," said the energy being. "Young species are often foolish." "Send another delegation," suggested the cloud creature. "Explain more clearly what correction means." The council agreed. They would give humanity another chance. Surely these primitive beings simply needed education. But Earth had other plans. Instead of waiting, humanity sent its own delegation to the council's capital. Kim Yuna led the group. With her came Choi Minji, a young military strategist with a gift for seeing patterns. Baek Jinho, an intelligence officer who collected secrets like other people collected coins. And Han Soo-jin, a woman who studied alien languages and cultures. The council's capital was not a planet. It was a structure built around a dying star. Billions of beings lived there, from hundreds of species. Most were tribute payers. They walked with their heads down and their voices quiet. They made way for council species without being asked. The human delegation was given quarters in the lowest section of the structure. The rooms were cold and small. The food provided was barely enough. Every day they were made to wait for meetings that never happened. "They are trying to break us," Minji said. "Make us feel small and weak." "Let them try," Yuna replied. While they waited, each member of the team did their work. Han Soo-jin spent her days in the public archives. The council kept records of everything. They were proud of their history. They wanted everyone to know how powerful they were. What Soo-jin found made her sick. 217 species, she told the others one night. That is how many the council has corrected. Complete destruction. Every world burned. Every person killed. They keep records of each one. They display them like trophies. Why? Baek Jinho asked. To frighten others. To show what happens to those who resist. But Soo-jin found something else in those records. something the council had forgotten or ignored. Before the corrections became common, there had been wars, real wars. The council had fought and bled and nearly lost. It had taken them thousands of years to build their reputation of invincibility. And in all that time since, they had never been tested. Baek Jinho worked in the shadows. He spoke to servants and slaves. He found the cracks in the council's perfect image. 3 of the 12 ruling species were not happy. They had been conquered long ago and forced to join. They ruled over others, yes, but they were still prisoners themselves. They hate the council, Jinho reported, but they are too afraid to act. They have seen what happens to those who resist. Perhaps they need an example, Yuna said thoughtfully. Choi Minji studied the military. She watched council ships patrol the station. She observed their formations and weapons. She timed their response to alarms. And she found exactly what Admiral Park had suspected. Their ships are old, she said. Beautiful, yes. Impressive to look at. But the weapons have not been updated in centuries. Their shields use technology we already understand. Their soldiers march in perfect lines, but they have never seen combat. They train for parades, not battles. They rely on fear, Yuna said. Take away the fear, and what do they have? Nothing, Minji answered. Nothing at all. Finally, after 2 weeks of waiting, the council granted them a meeting. The delegation was brought to a viewing platform high above the station. All 12 council members were present, along with representatives from dozens of tribute species. The stone speaker addressed them. You have had time to reconsider. You have seen our power. You have learned our history. Now speak your answer. Yuna stepped forward. We have learned much. We have seen how you rule through terror. We have seen the graves of 200 species who dared to be free. And we have seen the truth behind your power. The speaker's stone face showed no emotion. And what truth is that? That you are afraid, Yuna said. Not of us. Of what we represent. For 12,000 years, no one has challenged you. You have forgotten what it means to fight. You have grown slow and comfortable. Your weapons are relics. Your soldiers are decorations. The only thing keeping you in power is the belief that you cannot be beaten. The chamber erupted. Council members shouted in languages humans could not understand. The tribute species watched in stunned silence. No one had ever spoken to the council this way. The speaker raised one massive stone arm. Silence fell. You will be shown, it said. You will understand. The delegation was taken to a viewing deck. Before them hung a moon, gray and lifeless. Council ships surrounded it. Watch, the speaker commanded. The ships fired. Beams of energy struck the moon. Its surface cracked and burned. Within minutes, the entire moon had been reduced to rubble. Dust and rock floated where a world had been. This is our power, the speaker said. This is what awaits your Earth. Admiral Park, watching through a video link from the delegation's ship, studied the display carefully. He noted the time it took to charge the weapons. He measured the distance of the ships. He calculated the energy output. Then he spoke, his voice calm. Is that all? The council did not understand. They had just destroyed a moon. They had shown power beyond anything humanity possessed. How could this human sound so unimpressed? We will not pay tribute, Yuna said. We will not send our people as slaves. We will not surrender our ships. You have 30 cycles to prepare yourselves. Prepare for what? The speaker demanded. Yuna smiled. For war. The delegation left the council's capital that day. Behind them, the 12 ruling species gathered in confusion and growing anger. They would destroy these humans. They would correct this entire species. They would make an example that would last another 12,000 years. But deep in the shadows, in the quarters of the 3 conquered species, secret messages were being sent. To Earth, to the human fleet. The message was simple. We are watching. We are waiting. Show us that the council can bleed. and humanity intended to do exactly that. The day after the delegation returned, something remarkable happened. Every nation on Earth stopped fighting. Every old argument was set aside. Every border dispute was forgotten. For the first time in human history, the entire species agreed on one thing. They would not surrender. Factories that had been closed for years opened their doors. Shipyards that built cargo vessels began building warships. Scientists who had been working on different projects came together. Soldiers from every country trained side by side. There were no Americans or Chinese or Brazilians anymore. There were only humans, and they had 6 months to prepare. Yoon Ha-jun was a weapons designer. He was young, barely 30 years old. Before the Council's arrival, he had been working on better engines for mining ships. Now he had a different job. He was building weapons that could kill gods. The Council had given humanity a gift without knowing it. Their demonstration of power had been recorded. Every second, every detail. Ha-jun studied it for weeks. He measured the energy output. He analyzed the beam patterns. He found the weaknesses. Their weapons are powerful but slow, he told Admiral Park. They need 2 minutes to charge for full power. Their shields are strong against energy, but weak against physical impact. And their targeting systems cannot track fast-moving objects. Can we use this? Park asked. Ha-jun smiled. I can do better than use it. I can beat it. He designed a new missile. He called it the Sunbreaker. It was fast, faster than anything the Council had. It carried a warhead that combined nuclear fire with captured alien technology. In tests, a single Sunbreaker destroyed an asteroid the size of a city. One of these, Ha-jun said, will do more damage than their entire moon demonstration. Meanwhile, Shin Yunji was building a fleet. She was the commander of the new defense armada. Before, humanity had 40 ships. They needed 400, and they needed them in 6 months. Impossible, said the shipyard managers. Find a way, Yunji replied. They found a way. Ships were built in pieces at different locations. They were assembled in space. Crews trained while their vessels were still being finished. Some ships launched with paint still wet on their hulls. But it was not just about ships. Yunji knew they could not match the Council in numbers. They needed something else. They needed tactics the Council had never seen. They expect us to fight like everyone else, she told her officers. Form lines, trade shots, die slowly. We will not do this. We will be fast. We will be everywhere. We will hit them where they do not expect and disappear before they can respond. She designed attack patterns based on old Earth warfare, submarine tactics from the ocean wars, guerrilla strikes from jungle conflicts. The Council had never fought a real enemy. They would not know how to respond. Across Earth and the colonies, ordinary people joined the fight. Kang Minho was a farmer. He grew rice in the hills of Korea, as his family had done for generations. He had never held a weapon. He had never been in space. But when the call came, he answered. Why? His wife asked, tears in her eyes. You are not a soldier. Let the military handle this. The military is not enough, Minho said. They need everyone. And if we lose, there will be no farm. There will be no Korea. There will be nothing. He trained for 3 months. He learned to operate the guns on a warship. He was not the best. He was not the fastest. But he was there, and that was what mattered. There were millions like him, teachers and doctors and builders, artists and writers and cooks, all of them leaving their lives behind to stand against the darkness, all of them knowing they might not come home. Admiral Park watched the preparations and felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. But hope was not enough. He needed every advantage he could find. That was where Baek Jin-ho's secret communications came in. The 3 conquered species are ready, Jin-ho reported. They will not fight alongside us openly. They cannot. But they have given us information. Fleet positions, patrol schedules, weapon frequencies, everything we need. And when we attack, they will wait and watch. If we win even one battle, they will rise. Others will follow. The Council's grip is weaker than it appears. One crack, and the whole thing falls apart. Park looked at his fleet on the display. 400 ships against 10,000. 40 million humans against an empire of trillions. The numbers were impossible, but the numbers did not tell the whole story. The Council's ships were crewed by slaves who did not want to fight. Their commanders had never faced a real enemy. Their strategies were 12,000 years old. Humanity's ships were crewed by volunteers who would die before surrendering. Their commanders had studied every war in human history. Their strategies were born from desperation and genius. "Send the message," Park ordered. Kim Yuna wrote it herself. It was broadcast across all channels, in every language the Council understood. It was simple and clear. "Your tribute is ready. Come and collect it." In the Council's capital, the 12 ruling species received the message. They laughed. They mocked the primitive humans who thought they could fight. They assembled their ancient armada, 10,000 ships strong. They began the journey to Earth. They expected fear. They expected surrender at the last moment, as all species eventually surrendered. They did not expect what was waiting for them. In the shadow of Saturn, hidden among the rings, 400 human ships powered up their engines. Sunbreaker missiles were loaded. Crews stood at their stations. Kang Minho, the farmer-turned-gunner, looked out at the stars. His hands were steady. His heart was calm. He thought of his wife, his home, his rice fields in the hills. "We are ready," he whispered to no one in particular. "Let them come." And far away, crossing the void of space, the Council's armada came. The Council's armada emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. 10,000 ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They stretched across space like a wall of metal and fire, blocking out the stars. On the command ship, the Council's war leader studied the human fleet on his sensors. 400 ships, small, weak. He felt nothing but contempt. "Open a channel," he ordered. "Give them one final chance to surrender." The message went out. "Surrender now. Pay the tribute. Give up your weapons. Accept your place as servants of the Council. This is your last opportunity." Admiral Park listened to the message. Then he turned to his officers. "All ships forward. Maximum speed. Attack pattern hammer." The Council war leader blinked his many eyes. The humans were not surrendering. They were not running. They were charging directly at 10,000 ships with only 400. "They are insane," he said. "Destroy them." The Council's weapons began to charge. 2 minutes to full power. Their targeting systems locked onto the approaching human fleet. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Then the humans disappeared. Not literally, but they scattered. 400 ships became 400 individual targets, moving in random patterns at speeds the Council's systems could not track. By the time the great weapons fired, the human ships were somewhere else entirely. "Recalculate!" the war leader screamed. "Target the lead ships!" But there were no lead ships. There was no formation. The humans fought like a swarm of insects, unpredictable and everywhere at once. And then the Sunbreakers launched. Yoon Ha-joon watched from the flagship as his weapons flew toward the Council fleet. Each missile moved faster than anything the Council had ever seen. Each one carried enough destruction to crack a world. The first Sunbreaker hit a Council dreadnought. The ancient ship, 12,000 years old and never tested in battle, vanished in a ball of nuclear fire. Its shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did nothing against the physical impact and the explosion that followed. 3 more Sunbreakers hit. 3 more dreadnoughts died. The Council fleet fell into chaos. Oh Dae-hyun was 22 years old. He had been flying cargo ships between Earth and the colony when the war began. Now he led a squadron of fighters, small and fast and deadly. "Squadron 7, follow me," he said into his communicator. "Target is the command ship's hangar. We are going inside." His pilots did not hesitate. They followed him through a wall of defensive fire, past the slower Council fighters, straight into the open hangar bay of the war leader's flagship. No one had ever done this before. No species had ever been insane enough to fly inside an enemy ship. The Council had no defenses for it. Their internal security forces were designed for suppressing slave rebellions, not fighting determined attackers. Daehyun and his pilots landed in the hangar. They stepped out of their fighters with weapons in their hands. The Council soldiers who faced them had never seen real combat. They wore ceremonial armor and carried weapons that had not been fired in centuries. The fight lasted 15 minutes. When it was done, the command deck was in human hands. "This is Squadron 7, Daehyun reported, slightly out of breath. "The enemy command ship is ours." Across the battlefield, the news spread through both fleets. The humans had captured a Council flagship, not destroyed it, captured it. Walked inside and taken it with their bare hands. The Council's confidence shattered. Jang Soyeon was the communications officer on the flagship Horizon's edge. Her job was simple but vital. She was broadcasting everything. Every second of the battle was being sent across the galaxy. Every species that had ever paid tribute, every world that had ever knelt, was watching. They watched the Sunbreakers tear through Council ships. They watched human fighters dance around weapons that could not hit them. They watched the mighty Council fleet, 10,000 ships strong, begin to break apart. "They are retreating," Admiral Park said quietly. It was true. The Council ships, those that remained, were turning, running. They had lost 2,000 vessels in 6 hours. Their command ship was gone. Their war leader was a prisoner. And the humans kept coming, showing no mercy and no fear. Kang Minho, the farmer, fired his gun until the barrel overheated. Then he helped reload missiles. Then he patched damage to his ship's hull. He did not stop. He did not rest. Around him, other ordinary people did the same. Teachers and doctors and builders fighting for their home. By hour 12, the Battle of Sol was over. The Council's armada fled into the darkness between stars, leaving behind the wreckage of their pride. 2,000 Council ships had been destroyed. Humanity had lost 60. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the field of victory. Debris floated in the void. Emergency beacons flashed from Council escape pods. Human rescue ships were already moving to collect survivors. "Sir," an officer said, "we are receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Hundreds of them." Park listened. The messages came from the 3 species who had secretly helped them. From worlds that had paid tribute for millennia. From peoples who had never dared to hope for freedom. All of them said the same thing. "You did it. You showed us. It could be done." On one of the screens, Jang Soyeon's broadcast was still running. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds were watching. They had seen the Council bleed. They had seen the mighty fall. Park understood what this meant. The war was not over. It was just beginning. But the most important battle had been won. He turned to face his crew. These ordinary humans who had done the impossible. "Today we fought for Earth," he said. "Tomorrow we fight for everyone. The Council will not stop. They will come back with more ships, but so will we. And we will not stop until every species in this galaxy is free." The crew cheered. The sound echoed through the ship, carried across space to every human vessel. 60 ships had been lost. Thousands had died. But millions more were alive. Earth was safe. The colony was safe. And across the galaxy, fires of rebellion were beginning to burn. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy was on fire. Not with destruction, but with hope. The 3 species who had secretly helped humanity rose first. They announced their rebellion within days of the battle. Their leaders spoke openly about centuries of humiliation and fear. They showed their people the recordings of human ships charging into impossible odds and winning. If the humans can do it, they said, so can we. 5 more species joined within a week, then 10 more, then 20. Worlds that had paid tribute for thousands of years refused to pay. Slaves who had served for generations put down their tools and stood up. The Council's empire, built on fear, was crumbling. Admiral Park led the human expeditionary force into the galaxy. They did not conquer. They liberated. World after world welcomed them not as new masters but as allies. Billions of beings who had never known freedom saw human ships in their skies and wept with joy. On a world called Threshold, Park's forces found camps where tribute species had been kept for labor. The conditions were terrible. Families separated, workers dying from exhaustion, children born into slavery. Free them, Park ordered. All of them. Now. Human soldiers opened the gates. Medical teams treated the sick. Food was distributed. Families were reunited. The beings who emerged looked at their liberators with confusion at first. No one had ever come to help them before. No one had ever cared. A young alien child approached Park. She was small, with skin like blue crystal and eyes like stars. She had never known anything but the camps. Why? She asked in broken human language she had learned from broadcasts. Why did you come? Park knelt down to her level. Because no one should live as a slave. Because freedom belongs to everyone. Because we could not call ourselves human if we did not try. The child did not fully understand. But she understood enough. She hugged him, this strange being from a distant world, and for a moment, everything they had fought for made sense. Kim Yuna worked without rest. She traveled from world to world, meeting with leaders of freed species. She listened to their needs, their fears, their hopes, and she built something new, the Sol Accords. It was a simple document, really. All species are equal. No species may demand tribute from another. Conflicts will be resolved through negotiation. Trade will be fair. Freedom is not negotiable. Species that had never spoken to each other gathered to sign it. Old enemies set aside their hatred. Former tribute payers and their former masters learned to see each other as equals. It was not easy. Thousands of years of pain could not be erased overnight. But it was a beginning. The remaining council members requested a meeting. Their empire had collapsed. Their fleet was scattered. Half of their own species were in rebellion. They came not as conquerors, but as petitioners. What do you want from us? The stone speaker asked. Its voice was smaller now, uncertain. Yuna looked at the beings who had once threatened to destroy humanity. We want you to sit at the table, as equals. Nothing more, nothing less. The council had a choice. They could continue to fight, to cling to their fading power, and be destroyed. Or they could accept the new reality and find a place in it. They chose survival. Baek Jinho oversaw the liberation of every species that had been conscripted by the council. It was a massive task. Some had been serving for so long they had forgotten their home worlds. Some had no home worlds left. For them, new places were found, new communities were built. Everyone deserves a home, Jinho said. Everyone deserves a chance. On Earth, things were changing too. The war had united humanity in ways nothing else ever had. The old divisions seemed foolish now. How could people fight over borders when they had stood together against the stars? Kong Minho returned to his farm. His wife ran to meet him when his shuttle landed. They held each other for a long time, not speaking, just grateful to be alive. But Minho found that he could not simply go back to his old life. Too much had changed. He had seen too much. His farm became something new. Visitors came from across the galaxy. Alien beings who wanted to understand the species that had said no. They walked his fields. They helped plant rice. They sat with his family at dinner and asked endless questions. Why did you fight? They asked. You could have surrendered. You could have lived as tribute payers. It would have been easier. Minho thought about the question. There are things worth more than easy, he said. There are things worth dying for. Freedom is one of them. Hope is another. We did not fight because we wanted war. We fought because we wanted our children to grow up without chains, because we wanted every child on every world to have the same chance. On the anniversary of the Battle of Seoul, Admiral Park gave a speech. It was broadcast across the galaxy, translated into thousands of languages. 1 year ago, we were alone, he said. 1 year ago, we were told to kneel. We refused, not because we were brave, not because we were strong, but because we believed that freedom matters, that hope matters, that every species, no matter how small, has the right to determine its own destiny. He paused, looking into the cameras that carried his words across the stars. Today we are not alone. Today we stand with friends we never knew we had. Today the galaxy is free, not because of what humans did alone, but because of what we did together. Every species that rose up, every world that said no, every being who chose hope over fear. This victory belongs to all of us. On Earth, in a new district of the capital, the first alien embassies opened. Representatives from 40 species walked streets that had once known only humans. They ate human food. They learned human customs. They became friends. A little girl watched them pass, holding her mother's hand. She was 5 years old. She did not remember the fear before the battle. She only knew the world as it was now. A world where humans and aliens walked together. A world of hope. "Mama," she said, "why did the aliens come here?" Her mother smiled, thinking of everything that had happened. The fear, the fight, the sacrifice, the victory. "Because we taught them something," she said. "We taught them that no matter how big the enemy, no matter how impossible the odds, courage can win. And now they want to learn more. They want to be our friends." The little girl nodded, accepting this as children accept all things. Naturally. Simply. Above them, the stars shone bright. And somewhere out there, in the vast darkness of space, other worlds were learning the lesson humanity had taught. The small can defeat the great. Hope can conquer fear, and freedom, once claimed, can never truly be taken away.